Wherever this dart lands, I'm gonna cook a recipe from that country. Damn. The only rule is that if it lands in the sea, I will not drink a glass of salted water. In fact, maybe I will. I don't know. Oh, that's in the sea. Oh, I think we're in China. We literally landed plumb on a place called Hami. This is like Google Maps in real life. You're ruining my game. Go on. Nah, it didn't stick. Stupid idea. Oh, come on. We've got a spike. That is a place called Norrköping. Damn. Look, I was walking on water then. Oh, we're in Africa. That'll do. On the border between Mali and Mauritania. I think it's slightly towards a place called Kays. Kays in Mali. Norrköping in Sweden. And the first throw, Hami in China. Right. That was insanely hard work. That was last night, and immediately after that, I went and researched recipes where those 3 darts finally landed. You know, the next step of this is me actually going to these places physically. I'd be folding the maps a lot of times then. We have successfully got 3 recipes. We're gonna start with the dessert from China. So Hami is a city in eastern Xinjiang, China. Population of 673,000. But it is well known for something called sweet Hami melons. The first Google image of Hami when I've put it in is looks like something from like the Grand Canyon or something. Obviously I'm not gonna be able to get hold of those melons, but apparently a cantaloupe, I'm not gonna do that dad joke, is fairly similar in taste. In fact, there's a man holding one there looking very happy indeed. The fruit is celebrated for its extraordinary candy sweetness, featuring a mild and refreshing taste that superbly blends the flavors of cantaloupe and honeydew melon with the crispy crunch of cucumber. There's actually quite a lot of recipes using Hami melons. Generally they were like smoothies or salads, things like this. However, I found this pretty quirky recipe from China that was a dessert that we can start on now and have at the end. So this is basically called a melon Sago or Sago dessert. Sai Mai Lo. A popular Chinese dessert you will see being served at dim sum restaurants or Asian dessert places. I don't really like melons. Damn you darts. So it's served with the sago or sago / tapioca pearls and served with a creamy sweet milk concoction. Yeah, I wanted to do a video on homemade bubble tea, like trying loads of different crazy concoctions from home. So I randomly started to source some and have some golden tapioca pearls here, which do need to be cooked. So let's get going. The thing I like about this concept is something I've been wanting to do for so long. So I do hope you enjoy it, and maybe we'll do it like a semi-regular thing. It's just that there's no way I would have generally made any of these recipes without the darts. I was going to get like a proper like dart throwing shirt made up, but that was quite expensive. Anyhow, so water and sugar just stirred in, but we are going to bring it to a boil. And then we just kind of let it cool down to make the sugar syrup. Oh, you can see how hot that is, or even hear it. We can just put this to one side over here. I really just want to write the word one side on that counter sometimes and do that joke all the time. Just going to put it to one side. 750 milliliters of water. We're gonna boil the tapioca pearls. I don't really know what I'm doing with this. This is my first time using it. The only other time I've come across tapioca pearls is when I've had a couple of bubble teas and been like, ooh, what is that? Ooh. I can show you the world. I'm about to dump some tapioca in some water. Da, 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 da. Please do not overboil a whole new. Oh my word, look at this. Wow! Why does that look like chickpeas? I 100% need to taste one of those. Mmm, it tastes like cardboard. There is not much caramel flavour in that. Disappointingly, it's looking like one of those things that sort of smells better than it tastes, which I think is actually quite common. So I need to get them out of this sieve. So by putting them almost effectively in cold water like an ice bath, that should slow down the cooking process. But it does look like something from a pond at the moment. Again, over there to one side. Okay, so now we're gonna start to make melon milk. Now this isn't a Hami one, I'm sorry. And that looks like something from Stranger Things. I'm cutting it into much smaller chunks to help it get whizzed up. But not all of it is going in. So let's get the salt in and then the evaporated milk. Melon milk, I have to taste this. Oh, I like that because I can't taste the melon at all. Very, very delicate notes, but the evaporated milk is extremely dominant there. Nice. But we're not done yet. To one side, we've got some of the sugar syrup, and apparently we add it to taste depending on the sweetness of the lemon, which, not a lemon, you need a lot of that then. The melon, I'll put another quarter, so half in total. Oh my word, that tastes amazing. Oh, wow. Adding the sugar syrup has lifted the taste of the melon, and I don't hate it. Genuinely, that's amazing. Really, really nice. Like, it tastes like far more than a melon now, like a tropical explosion. So I've just drained off those tapioca pearls. Oh, they are so cool. I must do the bubble tea video. And then I've got some chunks of melon as well. Oh, look at this. We stick this in the fridge for a few hours, which is perfect because we've got 2 more darts to go. I mean, it is quite foamy, isn't it? It looks like a Guinness. You look after that for me, all right? On the subject of Guinness, the nitro surge that I did on the last gadget video, although I followed those instructions that told me to wait for the harp light to go out, apparently you turn the power on. I found a video by the founder, and I'm gonna try that again. That might appear as a YouTube short. I'll see if I can do it and reply to the actual comments so it'll make sense. If not, I'll bung it in the next gadget video. Right, we've switched to the dessert. We'll go to the starter, which is Sweden. Just out of curiosity though, I've got enough to do another one. I want to see what happens if you put the melon in after. Ooh, there we go. That looks a bit more interesting. And then the tapioca pearls. Oh, there we go. That looks so much cooler. Okay, so we landed in Norrköping in Sweden, which is gonna be our starter. Norrköping is a city in the province of Östergötland in eastern Sweden and the seat of Norrköping municipality. It does look like a really cool place. I genuinely kind of want to go there. When I was researching recipes for Sweden, there were absolutely hundreds, which of course there are, it's a massive country, right? But like nothing specifically what I found for Norrköping. So I've been a bit selfish here. I picked out this cod with horseradish and brown butter dish, which looks really, really good. So it's called a torsk med pepperot och brint smør, cod in horseradish and butter. We have never really had fresh horseradish here in the house. The supermarket didn't sell it either. So I'm gonna use it out of a jar and combine it with something similar, ginger, but we'll get to that in just a bit. So fairly basic ingredients at the moment. Just got an onion that I'm dicing. In the background there, we've got some carrots that I've just turned into, well, carrot coins. I like that phrase, carrot coins. There's not much more to it, really. The other thing it says is to get some white peppercorns. Now, I don't have any white peppercorns, but I've got a lot of black ones. Yeah, I just put them in there to stop them moving around, really. But here's some bay leaves, which we've determined actually do add an insane amount of flavour. So that's 2 carrots, 1 onion, and then the water. So this is going to come up to a simmer, infuse, flavour it all, and I apologise. If you're from China, if you're from Mali, if you're from Sweden today, please give me the biggest amount of slack ever. I did a short the other day, I posted this video of Mrs. B and I in Holland. I called it the #1 fries in Holland, and the amount of debate that's caused because they're actually Belgian fries. They're still the #1 fries in Holland, and your mayonnaise, right over there, so sweet. It was like cream. Mrs. B and I went there for our 10-year wedding anniversary, but it only took an hour and it was quite cheap, the flight too. And it did make me think maybe I could hop to these places like Sweden, for example, and properly try these things out. I don't know if that sounds interesting to you, but like I say, throwing the darts is probably way cheaper. Sometimes I'm in some very strange situations in the video. That's coming up to a simmer. Boston is currently sat roughly on Brazil. And I've just Rubik's cubed this block of butter. So what we're gonna do with the butter is brown it. We did that with cookies before. It really adds a richness, kind of like a nutty flavor. It's getting darker by the second, so yeah, I'll be right with you. You are seeing that more and more. And honestly, the nutty scent coming from that, the richness that does. I don't know who discovered it. It's kind of like the person that invented jam, how they discovered all like the sugar temperatures and all that. Very interesting indeed. But that is gonna get drizzled on our fish. The cool thing is I can keep the stock just gently simmering away before we add the fish in, and we can actually work on our bodged horseradish. I'm gonna take the ginger, which as I talked about the other day is a brand of air fryers. It's just purely a texture thing. I could probably just use a parsnip or even a carrot or something. And to be fair, I don't want to do much of this because I blooming hate ginger. This is genuinely legit. I was just like literally looking around going, I know I bought horseradish sauce. My jar of horseradish was down there with New Zealand. But I don't really want much. Maybe like a teaspoon? Oh, crikey, that's strong. Wow. We haven't forgotten about this. So I'm just gonna place, pun intended, 2 cod fillets in there. love a cod fillet. I was really tempted as well to serve this on a rye bread. That's actually quite popular in Sweden. And there was a recipe that I saw for like a massive like apple loaf. It looked insane, but that's actually a savoury apple loaf. Sometimes they'll put like salmon on it. But this is kind of like a personal thing for me. I love cod. I love horseradish. I've never had it together, especially with ginger in it. Right, here we go. Then I've got a plate down and we serve it, literally the cod straight down on the plate first. Here we go. Not the greatest piece of cod ever, to be fair. So we would now add on the grated horseradish. We take the browned butter and then just drizzle it on the top like that. Oh my word. I'm Swedish MasterChef territory here. There's the dill and some lemon juice. That is a dish I can't pronounce, but something I'm very, very excited to try as the butter swims around. I can't explain how excited I am. The fish is tender. Oh my word. I should be Swedish. I blooming love that. Oh, it's the flavours in the fish as well, but you've got the citrus of the lemon counteracting with the sort of nuttiness of the butter and that sharpness of that horseradish. That's actually worked really well, to be fair. I was very, very sceptical. Outrageous. Absolutely bonkers. IKEA. Jesper Blunkvist. Henrik Larsson. ABBA. I'm proud of you. I'm jealous of you. That's amazing. It's lunchtime now for me, so this will generally be my lunch before we finish up with something that on paper sounds even better. Oh, that works so well. All right, I'm feeling well nourished and I cannot let that detract from my excitement for our final recipe in Kays, Mali. Kays is a city in western Mali on the Senegal River with a population of 130,000. The city is located 260 miles northwest of the capital Bamako. That's good for a pub quiz, I did not know that. It's sort of like mud flat looking things with thatched roofs. This really weird tower thing. Not sure what that is. So for this one again, it was really hard for me to like nail down on a recipe specifically from this place. However, Mali in general, I picked out, I think is their national dish. It's something called a tigwidigi na. Tigwidigi na? Tigwidigi na. In brackets here it says chicken in peanut sauce, but I believe you can use other meat alternatives such as goat and beef. Oh, they actually do a vegetarian one too, and there are vegetables in it. The name comes from the Mandinka language, where tej means peanut, dej means paste, and na means sauce. Do you want some sauce? Nah. Mali dad puns. So let me just clarify. We are going for the chicken, but I love peanut butter. I love satay. Chicken in a peanut butter sauce. I don't think it's quite satay, but I'm so excited. A kilo of chicken, which basically means it's going to be our dinner tonight. Oil on top. So the pepper is back in its holster. Got some chopped onion, got some garlic, that'll go in soon, but also to one side I've coined some more carrots, some potatoes that I'll just chop and some other bits lying around. So we'll come on to that in a bit, but let's just cook this, probably with two hands so it doesn't go everywhere. However, we also need some chicken stock. So I'm just gonna use one of these stock pot jelly things. Oh, look at that. Let's go back to that chicken a sec. That's looking good. I have drained it out once to get rid of some of that excess fat and juice. In goes the garlic, the onions, and actually a little bit like, sounds like a rule in life that someone once taught me. Sometimes if you worry about things, you overthink them and they just sometimes just sort themselves out. And the stock cube has kind of done that. So that's our chicken stock ready. So tomato puree, which still gives me nightmares from making pizzas as a kid at school. They made you use that as the base and it was like very, very concentrated. And this is a tin of chopped tomatoes. I'm not quite getting the peanut butter vibes yet. There we go, look at that. That has thickened up lovely and reduced down. I'm trying to reduce it down as much as I can because we don't really have that much room left in this frying pan. And the peanut butter is about to join. I'm going for chunky. I'm really going to be interested to see how much this flavour pops through because I really do like satay food, but with the tomato, is it really going to show? Got some mixed herbs, nice. Carrots, aubergine, aka eggplant, and the potatoes. I think the stock will fit in there. It's going to be, I really should have got a bigger pan. And of course, it's going to reduce down. Oh my gosh, come on. Oh. With every second that passes, it should reduce down. So as long as I don't get too crazy, we should be okay. Yeah, because it now needs, oh my word. It has gone down an absolute fraction. It needs to simmer like this for a solid hour. So about 20 minutes later, the scent of peanut butter is in the air. A slightly nervous Barry and Boston, just wanting food, is feeling much more relaxed. Can you see? Never in doubt. Look, that's reduced down way more. It's thickening up. So that's what I'm going to be doing for another 40 minutes, reducing that down until we're left with kind of like a thick stew kind of thing. I'll put some rice on and we'll serve it up. All right, just to show you before I serve it up, look how much that's thickened up. I'm not going to take much more moisture out of it because I want to keep a bit of that in there. I don't want it too thick. This is not going to be the neatest dollop by all means. The word dollop. Oh, I've got it all over my counter already. Oh my word. Can you see how it's gone like more orangey? It really does smell peanut buttery now. Let's try it. Oh, it's cozy. That is really nice. Oh, I really like that. It's not got like satay vibes, unfortunately. I really wanted to like taste more of the peanut butter. It's kind of like a mixture, like a trade-off between the tomato and the peanut butter as a dominant flavor. Yeah, everything else is just like a passenger on that flavor bus. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, could be anything in there and it will just go down. In fact, the chicken itself, the vegetarian option, probably wouldn't mind. But there is definitely a distinct creaminess and the peanut butter is slightly more dominant. I've got to say that. But then this tomato twang comes back at the end. I really like that. It's something I would definitely eat again. I don't say that often. But genuinely, that is a dish that I would probably never have had if I didn't get the darts out. So we've got dessert in the fridge. This was the first one I did, and you can see with both of them, they've actually developed this sort of foamy head that sort of happened when it was being whizzed up anyway. We'll go for this one. It is really nice and cold. But of course, that's not to say that this is going to taste any different to the other one. It's just those ingredients are hidden. It's really weird, isn't it, how like presentation can massively influence the way you perceive food to taste. So let's scoop some down. I'm going to try and get a bit of everything. Oh, that's really weird. The tapioca pearls are amazing. Definitely not tasting the caramel, just like little gummy pearls. That blast of cold, but it's... Oh, there's this like weird separation that's happened. Like all of the sweetness that was originally there seems to have sort of like settled. When I had it originally, that was gorgeous. I don't think I wanted to put it in the fridge. I just had a piece of melon and that's fine. It's nothing wrong with the melon. It's that actually... melon milk, which is two words that maybe shouldn't be combined. I'm actually quite disappointed in that. Maybe if I stir it up a little bit. Yeah, that's weird. For a minute I thought I had it. And then it's like this sort of like earthy texture. Oh dear. However, that could just be my melon inexperience shining through. I thought that was going to be my favourite. Do you know what? If I added like mango, passion fruit, pineapple, something like that I really liked, maybe the coconut milk instead, I might have liked it more, but I'm kind of gutted about that. Of course, I could probably use different type of tapioca pearls as well to give you more of a flavour burst, but it was actually that body, that base, that melon milk that was just kind of bleh. In second place was our peanut butter chicken dish from Mali. That was absolutely fine. I would happily munch on that again, but the clear winner for me, I think I'm actually half Swedish. Like genuinely, the whole combination of dill, fish, horseradish, I could live off that forever. That was absolutely sensational. I'll type these recipes up if you want to give them a try, put your own twist on it too. If you enjoyed this concept, it was a little bit of fun today. It's something I've been wanting to do for like 3 years. So I was like, why the heck have I got a rolled up atlas? Oh, I hope you enjoyed it. We can mix it up and do some other things on it. Cheers for watching, guys. Hopefully a little bit of food exploration that you and I may never, ever do. Give them a go if you fancy it. Let me know how you get on, and I'll see you later. Bye. I'm editing the video now, and I just thought, hang on a sec, we got this other one in the fridge that we did first of all, and it actually said to put those ingredients in first, the melon and the tapioca. So, to be fair to it, let's give it a go. It really does taste earthy, I can't explain it.